Welcome to Archdrive Gaming. I'm the Archmaster. I've really got to slow down. The mouth lockup is getting out of control. I bit my tongue twice. Anyway, today we are talking about more Arches and Avatars, my game system, that is built on the bones of 5e, but replaces it entirely with everything. And no, it's not compatible with 5e. You can't just port your classes and races and characters over. You'd have to build it again with this, but it's absolutely worth it because the experience is just, it's fixed. You know, if you've ever played something like Skyrim and it's like, yeah, it has a lot of bugs, a lot of balance issues, etc., and then you download the unofficial Skyrim patch and it just fixes the bugs. That's what this game is. It just fixes all the bugs. Like, yeah. Plus adds a whole bunch of new content. But like at least bug fixes. So, a few other times ago, we talked about your attributes, about aspects and all this stuff. If you haven't watched those videos, you're probably not going to understand what's going on here. But now we're talking about your charisma skills and the bonuses you get for having increased ranks of proficiency in your charisma skills. So, with persuasion, at novice proficiency, you can give an ally +5 to their AC or saving throw against, like, you know, if someone's attacking them. Boom, +5, and you actually use your persuasion skill to do that, right? You make a charisma persuasion check, and you're like, hey buddy, watch out! +5 to his AC or his save, right? With all the charisma skills here, they're actually going to require a check, unlike the other ones. Some of the strength and dex things required an action, some required a check, and some were just passive, because I kind of want to buff the marshals who get all the physical skills. But with these, I think they all require a check. Anyway, a journeyman proficiency, you can give an ally +5 to attack. So it's like, hey buddy, hit his weak spot, his knee is open, and boom, +5 to attack. If you watch my other video about surplus, then you know that every 5 over someone's AC that you get, you get, you know, a surplus. It could be extra damage or an extra effect or your weapon maneuver. And so getting a flat +5 could be the difference between missing and hitting him, or it could just give you an extra surplus, right? Always useful. And then adept proficiency, give an ally 1 free grit action on their next turn. So in a previous video, I talked about grit and how you can, you know, spend grit to take extra actions. It's essentially the action surge that fighters got in 5e. I let everyone have access to that by just spending their grit. Grit is tied to willpower. So you can just give them an extra action. Just like, hey buddy, go hard, man, get him good. And then they can actually just take an extra action. And you can do that as many times as you have, as you can make that persuasion check, you know, because it spends presence every time you make the check, right? As long as you have presence every time you're making that check, you can give one or more allies an extra bonus, right? You can use your speak action multiple times and give multiple allies bonuses. It's mega cool, right? Just real quick, this is an example of how having proficiency in pretty much any skill helps pretty much any class, right? Especially martials, because there are a lot of things where the skills just don't help martials. Through this whole thing, I took it as a major mission to make sure that every skill, as much as I could, helped martials, that it was useful to take. I was tired of seeing martials only take athletics every single time, right? Like, yeah, you can take that and it's cool, but you can take, like, this also fits in with the idea that that any class, you know, fighters, for instance, martials, can have any skill, any attribute high. If you have a high dex or high charisma, high intelligence, etc., it still helps you. It's still useful, right? Because of the attribute threshold bonuses. You get a new feat at 15 intelligence, 15 dex, and you get a new feat at 20, right? So, you know, you can have any attribute high, and you can still be any class. This is the second layer of that, where your skill proficiencies also make it so that you can play any class, right? So yeah, it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, my allies can flank enemies I'm fighting if I have a 15 charisma. That's kind of cool, but it's not as good as 15, you know, strength, right? It's like, but if you choose a persuasion skill, you know, deception, intimidation, insight, etc., if you keep going with these, you know, with other skill proficiencies, you can actually make it absolutely worth it to have that high attribute in something that technically you wouldn't think of as a martial skill. So again, the versatility, the play style, it's so cool. I really got to get on with this before the video reaches 20 minutes with my preamble. Thank you for still being here and watching. It's amazing. All right, with deception. At novice proficiency, you get +5 to attack a creature. because you are, feinting or, deceiving them in some way with like, with your words, you're distracting them. It's all that realm of like distraction, deception, etc. You get a +5 to attack them. You make you take a speak action, make your persuasion check, and then if it succeeds, you get a +5 to attack, with your attack roll. Done. With journeyman proficiency, you can give the creature -5 to attack. So you make that roll, and instead of the +5 for you to attack it, you give it a -5 to attack you. You might want to do that. And adept, give creature -5 to AC. And you may be thinking, well, how is that different from +5 to attack, -5 to AC? Well, +5 is to your attack against him. If he has a -5 to his AC, that's everyone's attack against him. You are distracting him so badly with your deception and whatnot. You've learned how to garner his attention. It's still a charisma skill. But yeah, you give him a -5 AC for like that whole round. So anyway, yeah. With intimidation, again, it's +5 to attack creatures, just like intimidating instead of deceiving them. With journeyman, you can make the creature only attack you for a round, right? So, an example of this I had in an old video that I since have made private. Is that if you're a warrior and you're fighting some bad guy, right? And there's a mage, your buddy, your ally mage, he has to run past this bad guy to get up and help his ally, or cast a fireball at a bad guy. And so as he runs by, he's going to get that attack of opportunity. And so you intimidate the person, and you're like, hey, I'm going to eat your guts and spit him out like toothpicks on Wednesday. You give him this terrible intimidation, and he's looking at you, and he's so afraid. He's locked eyes on you. Your buddy passes. He can't attack anyone else because he's just focused on you because you've scared him so much, right? That's cool. It lets you tank. It lets you be like, hey, this enemy only focus on me, and it's part of your charisma. It's part of an intimidation skill. And so brutes, what y'all would call what y'all know as barbarians, they can have this, right? Because who doesn't take intimidation when they're a barbarian, right? Then at adept, remove one action from creature's next turn. You can intimidate them so much that they stumble over themselves, or they're like frozen for a second, and then they have less time to react, and you can actually take actions away from them with intimidation. I think that's so cool. Insight, learn the mental, physical, emotional, spiritual state of a creature. This one isn't so much combat focused. It can be really useful, but that's just your basic. This is what insight does. With journeyman, +5 to next charisma check against a creature. So you spend insight first, you learn something about him, your next charisma check works. Like, that's kind of cool. And then adept +5 on next spell targeting the charisma or intelligence of the creature. So you can actually, use your insight on him and, search out their mind and whatnot, and then you have advantage on your next spell because you know how to get into their mind the right way, right? I think that's cool. It's not super combat focused, but it's insight. You didn't expect it to be combat focused. And then lastly, I got rid of performance, because I think it's too narrow. It's just about performing things, and I call it arts, where it's like it's everything with the arts. So yeah, with novice proficiency, +5 to your next charisma check. So you do something artsy, and then you try to persuade someone, and it works better because of your artistic flair. Journeyman, gain +5 to next spell or attack against a creature, just any. So if you are especially artful with your attack rolls and whatnot, you're distracting or mesmerizing them with your art, you actually get you get +5 to your next attack. Like, you can have proficiency in the art skill, have journeyman proficiency, and you get +5 to your next attack against a creature when you make a successful arts skill check. And then lastly, adept proficiency, grant all allies within 30 feet +5 to their next attack. Because you are like inspiring them, right? It's like, it's the arts of the warrior or the caster or whoever, right? Maybe it's a poem that you speak and they're like, I am so inspired, +5, like all your allies. Super cool. These actually help you do cool stuff. Wouldn't you want to play a bard or something that has proficiency in arts, and you're getting extra attack because you're flaring your weapon, and you have like a tassel or your fancy robe or something? Like, the game mechanics actually support the narrative, they support the simulation, they support the character concept, instead of just being like, oh yeah, you have performance, doesn't do anything. Like, after playing this system with all these cool things you can do with skills and attributes and all that, it's so hard to go back to 5e and be like, oh, I don't have any cool bonuses for my skill proficiency. Oh, I don't have any bonuses for my attributes. I can't take extra actions with willpower. Oh, I can't have extra attacks because I have high dexterity. Oh man, like it feels like so many things are lacking. This really feels like kind of the way it should be, right? Anyway, we're at 10 minutes. I'm going to have to end it there. Next, we're on intelligence skills. There are 10 intelligence skills. Maybe I'll be able to get through all of them in one video if I hurry. But thank you to my patron, Jack, and thank you you all for watching and liking and subscribing and feeding the YouTube algorithm on all that stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. God bless.